Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. I hope you enjoy. The Desert, written by Arenval. You shouldn't be here. I jumped a little, startled. I wasn't expecting to hear anyone speaking to me here. Here was the desert, a psychic construct my mind used as a metaphor for my depression. It was an apt one, too. Dark sky with unfamiliar stars. Black sand underfoot, diffuse grey light illuminating the scene as bright as noon, but had no visible source and cast no shadow. The air was cool, but not unpleasantly so. The distant mountain range rose over the far horizon. Why my subconscious had decided to steal the setting from a Terry Pratchett's Discworld was beyond me, but it worked. Death being here, however, was new. I looked over my shoulder. He was standing a few feet away, 7 feet tall, skeletal, hooded black robe with pinpricks of blue light denoting eye sockets. I didn't see his scythe anywhere, which was a good sign, I guessed. I shrugged. I didn't really feel like talking at the moment. It is not your time. He held up an hourglass. It was made of ebony, with a brass plaque engraved with my name affixed to the bottom of the frame. There was still sand in the top bulb. Sorry. Despite being a walking skeleton, Death somehow seemed to convey a sigh. I don't understand you mortals. Sometimes you have life, you have friends and family. You have the senses, you have glands. Why would you throw it away? I was at a loss. How do you explain depression to a guy who has exactly zero understanding of emotions? How do you explain pain to someone who's incapable of feeling it? I'd have an easier time teaching a goldfish algebra. I shrugged again. I don't know how to explain it to you, sir. Death fingered his chin bone for a moment, pondering. Fair enough. He lowered his hand. You may dispense with the formality. I don't stand on ceremony. You can call me Bill. I smiled slightly at that. He'd used the name Bill Dorr on one of his misadventures in the novels. Very well then, Bill it is. Tell me, if you can, why do you spend so much time here? It's peaceful, I met his gaze. Usually. I see. He indicated the desert around us. This is not the kind of peace humans usually seek. He had a point. The desert was the peace of the grave, cold, empty, eternal. Buying time to think, I dug out a cigarette, lit it, took a drag. Exhaling, I extended the pack to Death. Want one? Might as well. It cannot hurt me. The last was delivered at a pointed look in my direction. I shrugged, offering him my lighter. No one ever said humans were the sharpest tools in the shed. True. He examined the lighter. I do find your species to be rather clever, though. He lowered his hood and took a drag of the camel. Why do you, specifically, spend so much time here? I cannot qualify as polite company. You accept me as I am. You don't judge. It is not my place to judge, only to collect, as it were. Exactly. You don't expect anything from me. I thought about it. Well, one thing, eventually. But still, yes, in the end, I do expect to collect even from you. Right. Humans, though, they expect everything, and I can't give it to them. Despite not having flesh, Death managed to look confused. I do not understand. I took a drag of my cigarette. I was trained to be a part of something larger than myself, a cog in a machine, if you will. I always knew my place, knew exactly what was expected of me. I was taught to nudge my peers back into line when they strayed from the straight and narrow. And I was taught to put the mission first. Another drag. I was taught to kill. He motioned for me to continue. Then it was over, and I had to go back to being normal. I had to fit in. I had to be productive. I had to hold on my tongue when other people put themselves first. I finished my cigarette, pitched it to the sand, and I wasn't trained for any of that. It must be difficult. I laughed sardonically. Yeah, you have no idea. On top of all of that, I was born with a hidden handicap. My brain isn't quite right. I can't focus like normal people can. I'm different. I spat the last words out like I'd bitten into something disgusting. I'm usually the smartest guy in any room I walk into, yet it takes me 3 times as long to learn certain things as everyone else. Hell, I'm working 3 times as hard as anyone else would be just to concentrate on this conversation. I pulled out another cigarette, needing a distraction from the self-loathing welling inside me. I see. I think. I lit the cigarette, took a big drag, let the smoke out slowly. I fail at tasks that most humans find second nature. I'm 41 fecking years old, and I can't keep my fecking bills paid. And I don't fecking know why. I kicked at the sand in frustration. Death watched, waiting patiently for me to calm myself. When I finally regained some control, I turned back to him. I just want to be functional. I don't even care about being normal. I just want to be a functional adult. Is that too much to ask? He shrugged. I cannot say. I nodded after a moment. Yeah. No. I guess you can't. I took a moment to finish my second cigarette, using the time to think. What I want most is the ability not to screw up everything I try to do, by either forgetting something important, procrastinating, or simply not finishing it. That and, to be able to not think for a while. That would be, really, really nice. And yet you persevere. You do not give up. You keep trying. I snorted, my lips twisted into a bitter smile. Yeah, well, there's another bit of my training they drilled into me. Never surrender. Death before dishonor. No! Death shook his head. That is an inherent trait of humanity. You never quit. You never give up. You never stop fighting. Your kind simply do not quit trying. Yeah, that's us. I gave a bit of shake of my head. We just don't know when to quit, even when we really, really should. I threw my hands up in disgust. Humanity! Fuck yeah. I find that to be humanity's most admirable trait. Your kind have walked on the moon, have harnessed the power of the atom, simple piles of metal, providing power for your entire society. Your medicine boggles the mind. Your surgeons can replace a man's defective heart with one taken from a dead man, and the patient lives. You sail the seas on ships of iron, powered by piles of radioactive metal. You construct buildings that scrape the sky and soar high above them in machines made of aluminium. You have sent a ship outside of your solar system, and how did you achieve all of this? By refusing to surrender. Even now you refuse to quit. You and I could have met in my official capacity many times over the past years, at a time of your choosing, yet you refuse. You keep fighting. Why? I'm ashamed to admit that I didn't have an answer for him. I shook my head, shrugged slightly. I'll tell you why. The one thing you humans have that sets you apart from every other living thing on your planet is the ability to look to the future and to hope. You see that no matter how bad life is at the moment, there is always a very strong chance that the future will be better. You personally have placed that hope in your daughter. Hope that she will not have your disability, that she will avoid the mistakes you keep making. Hope that she will succeed where you fail. You even told her how to do that yesterday. You have postponed our official introduction for her. No other living thing in all of creation has the ability to plan for the distant future, to put the mechanisms into place to make the future a little better for its descendants. Only you humans. And even with your disability, you have that power. A power that is denied to me, I might add. Huh. When you put it that way, I trailed off, unable to finish the thought. I pulled out my cigarette pack and offered him another. I stood there and smoked with Death in silence for a while, pondering his words. When we finished, I turned to him. Thank you, Bull. You've given me a lot to think about. Of course. It's about time for me to get going, I guess. Death nodded. Hoofbeats sounded behind him. I turned to look and saw a white horse approaching across the desert sands. Death swung into the saddle. Until we meet again. I saluted. Maybe a long time coming. Somehow, Death smiled. Quite. He patted the horse's neck. Come, Blinky. Duty calls. They rode off across the desert, leaving me alone with my thoughts. I lit a final cigarette. As I smoked, an ancient wooden door, its timbers iron-bound and blackened with age, materialized before me. It swung open, revealing a cold, starlit night on the other side. The real world. The world outside my head. I finished my smoke, crushed it under my boot, and stepped through it, back into the land of the living. End of story. I would quickly like to thank the T5 channel members and Patreons. Caspar Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Barky, Lord Azrakal, It's Difficult to Pronounce, Dragzoon WRE, Holly's Sister, Arcadian. Thank you very much.